All right. Metronome stuff for this muting work, not the biggest deal here. Most important thing is just get your fingers used to, well, basically doing this. So one thing to keep in mind, you will hear the percussion of the B string, and it's not going to sound great, but in order to make sure that you're definitely muting, that's why I want you to hit both strings instead of muting and only trying to hit the one string. The muting stuff is usually, just for the accidental. Maybe you accidentally pick it when you didn't mean to. That happens a lot with strumming chords. But also just making sure that, when you leave strings and whatnot, that you're able to mute those strings after you leave them and prevent the unwanted noise. So, yeah, it'll sound not the greatest when you do this. So it's important to keep that in mind, because I don't want you to be like wondering how come it doesn't sound like perfect, or like just that one note, because the percussion is going to come through. All right, so you just following the fingering. So here's just as it's written. So the index finger is the most important finger to be up under the B string. If the ring finger and the pinky don't get under there, that's not a huge deal, because the index finger is really your main muter. It's the main muting finger. It does most of the work. So one thing you can do, you get used to that, instead of playing each note 4 times, like try doing it 3 times. And then twice. Of course. And you can, start messing around with stuff, like, within those notes there. Just kind of make up your own stuff there just to get used to moving around, whatnot. We haven't covered any scale stuff yet. We will eventually. But like we've been playing in the key of A minor the whole time. So if you know your scales or whatnot, or like the natural notes up here on the E string, start messing around, like making up stuff, while just making sure that that index finger is muting the B string the whole time. So that's something you could do once you get that done. I mean, you can start metronoming that up as well if you'd like. But again, the most important thing is just getting the muting to sound well, or sound good. So the same ideas here. Once you get this, you can start shortening up the notes. Why do I feel I made this shorter than I wanted it to? No, that's right. I don't know, for some reason I was thinking there's more to it, note-wise, like there's more notes. Anyway, so yeah, again, index finger is the most important guy. That's your main muting finger. So, the same idea as the last one. Metronome is not a big deal right now. I mean, if you want to, definitely do it, but just concentrate on making sure you get the percussive sound, because you're muting with the index finger on the G and the E. And just make sure the fretted note is ringing out. So, and yeah, you can just shorten it until 3 times, 2 times, or 1 time each note. So that could be a challenge right there. Or just kind of start mixing the notes up differently. Again, if you know the notes on the B string, and start mixing it up. You can even go between, go the first one and the second one. So you play that. So if you work on combining those two, that would be a good thing. So you get used to positioning your index finger, going from only needing to mute one string to two. Okay, this big old thing. So when you come across something like this, hang on, here we go. So usually you'll just see like those three strings being written out. So you have the note on the A string, the octave up on the G string, and then you have just the middle string being X'd out there. But because I want you to get used to really muting very, very well, then you'll be trying to hit all 6 strings as you do this. Just changed it again. There. So your thumb will be going over the top. Now, if you find that it's easier to do this, you know, starting up here, like flip this whole thing around and just kind of work it down backwards. So here's how it's written, though. So, again, like my index finger is doing a lot of the muting. It's going to be touching that E and the B string, the top 2 strings there. Pinky's is going to be, when my pinky goes down, it's also barely touching the B string. But your index finger is also muting out that D string. And then thumb's going to be muting the low E. So play this as it's written first. So the harmonic on the 12th fret really wants to try and ring out there while I'm muting it. So again, you'll hear things like that happen, especially with the distortion on it, and that's okay. So long as it's not that, not that, but that. Okay, so here's what it would sound like if you go backwards. It's basically, so here, this last one, you're playing the A notes. You're going to hit it one more time just to finish the exercise. So basically you're gonna like play it going back like this and go here, and then just you can play this note with that octave thing one more time. So let's demonstrate that. So basically doing this backwards. Big wide strums. Notice like where my hand's positioned too. So I know you have the tendency to have your wrist like sticking out a lot. I know we talked about that a bit. For certain things, you know, if I have, instead of putting my wrist out, I'll move my whole arm forward. This way I can try and keep my wrist as straight as possible to reduce the strain back here. So something you might need to start looking into, as we discussed last night. If you start to feel the strain on the back of your wrist, start positioning your arm different to relieve that constant stretching and whatnot. Right, so like you won't be able to do the muting. This is kind of in the way. Hang on a sec. There. So you won't be able to mute this way with your wrist sticking out like this. You have to pull it back, and yeah. So this way, you know, your wrist is kind of bent more like this. And this allows me to get my thumb over the top. So if you try and do the thumb like this, it's not going to work. You have to have you cock your wrist back this way. So don't push it forward. Like don't stick that part of your wrist out. Pull it back. So think you're a waiter. You're carrying a tray. It's kind of like pulling your wrist back like that. And this will allow you to get your thumb over the top of the neck and mute the low E string better. So let's bring that back up. So speaking of going backwards, like one thing you can do, you get used to that, is play it both up and down. So I'll play a little bit faster now. kind of save some time, but basically and you can shorten the amount of times you hit each thing. So maybe like just do 4 times each. Or even like twice, or mix it up. Just kind of go around in any of those octave shapes, kind of make up your own stuff. Or stay there longer. Just kind of make your own thing. And work on muting while trying to be creative with the stuff too. So hopefully those suggestions can help make these things a bit more interesting. But I think that covers all of it. So, but yeah, if any questions come up before next class, just let me know. And happy muting. I'll see you again on Thursday.